Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to another Lime Vibe Live podcast on this July 18th, a Friday, here in the Bahamas. My name is Yori Camp. I'm your host of the Lime Vibe Live podcast. I would say, just a heads up to my viewers out there, there's going to be a few upgrades to the channel coming in the next, I would say, month or two. We're going to start investing a bit more in the technology, and we're going to start doing more in-depth interviews with persons from around the region and from around the world, actually, because the Caribbean diaspora stretches from here to Ghana to even Korea. So you're going to see some changes now. So if you have not done so, please like, share, and subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch page as Lime Vibe 77. That's Lime Vibe and the number 77 at either Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. And I would like for you to join us on this journey. So thank you for joining me again for another Lime Vibe Live podcast. So let's go straight to it. Our first story tonight, the Trump administration. They're putting on a 10% tariff on African and Caribbean countries. A 10% import tariff on Caribbean and African countries. And Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said that the goods tax at the 10% rates are negligible because some of these countries don't do the kind of trade with the United States, like, let's say, for example, what France or Canada would do, all right, or what the United Kingdom would do. And so they think that this 10% is just essentially negligible. And they're right, because we have no goods that we send to the United States en masse that we depend on. Even right now, even with Guyana with oil and Trinidad with oil, they don't do a lot of business with the United States. I mean, yeah, any dollar missed is going to be missed. However, the region, I would say, is not going to die because of a 10% tariff being imposed by the Trump administration. So let's just get it out of the way. Now, why would they do this when it's absolutely negligible is inconceivable. They're saying that it does not move the needle in any which way, shape, or form. This is what Lucknet said, that this would be relatively insignificant for addressing the Trump's goals of reducing trade imbalances with the rest of the world. Okay, that is what the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is saying. And I agree with him. This is not going to move the needle in any way, shape, or form. However, it's just another page in the Donald Trump administration when he's trying to regulate and trying to put his foot down. And I got to tell Caribbean leaders, don't think that because you go to an African country or a country not aligned as tightly with the United States like Europe and Canada is, that you would go and just badmouth the Americans. They have spies everywhere. Of course, what you say, the reckless talk and the bluster and the foolishness that you're being saying in some of these forums is going to get back to the Trump administration. They're going to find out, and so you can't expect for them to not retaliate, especially with the Donald Trump administration. So let's be wise here, man. Stop going to these foreign, these international meetings and these forums, talking all kinds of crazy stuff about the United States. It's not, they are the world superpower. So you have to get that right. Let me fix my caller, guys. I can't believe I came on the air and my caller was totally rumpled up. I didn't even check, Of course, we have no budget for wardrobe here, so just me one in front of this camera. But But that's all right though. But yeah, don't think that people aren't seeing what you're saying at some of these international forums, and how you're saying the United States needs to do more, and how the United Kingdom needs reparations and all this and that, blah 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 blah. Come on, shut up, shut up. Just take the ride, man, and stop trying to anger someone who clearly has a short fuse and has no patience or tolerance for anyone else out there. That's not something he can benefit from, and that's the truth. Leave Donald Trump alone, man. He has enough problems running the United States. I'm just going to say that as clearly as possible. Okay, let's go back to a problem in our own region that we should be dealing with. There was a report by the United Nations office in Haiti, and saying that since March 2025, Haiti's gang violence has intensified, and the surge of human rights violations have happened as a result. They said in addition to these, and this is from a report saying, in addition, these intense gang-related criminal activity continues to be documented in the lower and in regions located to the east metropolitan area of Port-au-Prince. So it's right around the Port-au-Prince capital area, because that's where all the action is, eh? People always say when you go to the countrysides up north, you're not going to get as much violence, but I don't want to take any chance in Haiti at all, actually. I don't want to visit at all. I've seen the videos, I know enough. And actually, just recently, we had 2 Bahamians who were shot leaving Haiti, along with a Jamaican. 2 Bahamians that were shot dead, along with the Jamaican, trying to escape from Haiti, from Cuba to Haiti, with a boatload of drugs, and they were shot down in Haitian waters by the Haitian Defense Force, military. And so, you know, that's even guys that's even sailing through Haiti. So can you imagine there's someone who just visiting there and hits, you know, ground in Haiti? Come on, I wouldn't want to go there. Be smart. And the stories all over Bahamian media, actually, that 2 Bahamians and a Jamaican were killed trying to leave Haiti with a boatload of drugs. It's just a shameful affair, man. The Haiti's allowed to descend to this point. I mean, it's finished. It's finished. The country is absolutely decimated, man. They need a government. And every time something happens, we keep forgetting that they're supposed to have general elections and a brand new government. I don't understand why we can't get this new government in Haiti. This is just madness now. This is just wickedness and evil straight across the board. And perhaps maybe they need someone else to jump in there. And I said this before, and I say this again. Okay? I think Haiti needs to be administered by a foreign council. I believe that the same arrangement that the United States had in place for Iraq when they brought in J. Paul Bremer to be the administrator for Iraq, that's perhaps what is needed, because this council, this transitional council, is absolutely worthless. They haven't done anything. Nothing is being prepared, and the country is in the worst shape that it's ever been. And there's no idea or sign that there's going to be a general election in Haiti. And this is just sad. You know, I think a foreign country or power has to go in there and put an administration in place to organize it for at least 2 or 3 years until we get some public services, you know, straightened out and sorted out. That's what the country needs. And someone needs to go and do that. I would hope the United States would have made the effort to go and do it, but apparently they're not interested. And the Trump administration has their hands full with Ukraine and Israel and Iran and Russia. And so that's where it is. Haiti's being put on the back burner. And you know, going back to our earlier story with the 10% trade being imposed in Caribbean countries, it's negligible. Haiti could burn to death and the world would not miss it. Haiti could just fall off the map altogether and nobody would miss it. That's just the truth. Anyway, let's talk about something we miss. Brendan Carr, the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission in the United States, the FTCC, said at the opening ceremony of the Caribbean Association of Telecommunications Organizations, or CANTO, at their annual conference. He said that the Trump administration just recently restored the FCC Spectrum Auction Authority and will be moving forward with a robust pipeline of spectrum. So they're opening up the spectrum broadband so people could broadcast more. And this is going to be important because the Caribbean needs new airwaves. It needs new channels to broadcast on. And these spectrum waves are very, very important for getting your message across. Otherwise, we have to go on Facebook and YouTube, like how I'm doing here with my podcast, right? So, he said, just days ago, this is what Carl said, by the way, just days ago, thanks to President Trump and our Congress working together, they restored the FCC Spectrum Auction Authority, which has lapsed a couple of years ago. So now we have a robust pipeline of spectrum, and we're moving ahead with that. Thank goodness. Hopefully it's a success, and there are more persons willing to get in on that auction. And that means more spectrum for Caribbean countries as well, because we have no infrastructure here. We get all of our satellite and our technology from the United States. We feed off of their spectrum, and that's just true. So the more spectrum inside the region, the better for all of these broadcasters and these telecommunications providers. So kudos and shout out to Brennan Carr, who came to the Bahamas at the Grand Hyatt for Canto's 2025 annual conference. And Canto, I'll say it again, is the Caribbean Association of National Telecommunication Organizations. There you have it. Bang. Another story, another United Nations report said that with regard to AIDS and HIV, that black women in the Caribbean, they have a tougher battle fighting the disease than any other subgroup of individuals. According to the report, AIDS crisis and the power to transform, in the Caribbean and specific coastal regions of Colombia in particular, women represent half of all people diagnosed with HIV, compared with only a fifth at the national level. This gap is tied closely to gender inequality and other structural barriers such as violence and poor access to basic health services, including HIV testing and treatment. In addition, stigma worsened by racism and sexism makes it harder for many women to get an education, find work, or receive proper medical care, leaving them more exposed to the risk of HIV. And there you have it. And these are the inequalities that black women face even in their region. This is above the citizenship issues, and this is above, the right to marry who they want to marry. This goes to the heart of how our countries have been organized to such an extent that we don't even consider women in our daily framework. How these little things just go by undetected, and we take them as normal, but they're actually barriers for women to get treatment and for women to be recognized. And we have to work on that as a society. And it's the same thing with people with disabilities as well. Like we just go along with our normal daily lives as if people aren't disabled or people aren't females. And these things, because we build a country for us, men, strong black men, strong men, I would say, we have neglected to make these provisions for everybody to feel equitable in their country. And this is something we have to work on in the region. Now, let's go on to another funny story, man. I don't know if you guys have been following this issue with the Coldplay Kiss Cam at the Coldplay concert in Massachusetts, where the CEO, Aaron Byron, I get his right name right? Let me get his name right. Sorry. Is CEO Andy Byron, and his colleague, the head of HR, Kristen Cabot. Andy Byron is the CEO of Astronomer. That is a AI company, a huge AI and space technology company in the United States. And he was caught on a Coldplay concert Kiss Cam with his head of HR, Kristen Cabot. And it just so happens that Mr. Byron is married and his wife is pissed. He saw him on a Kiss Cam. And they were there with another colleague who they guess promoted as well at the Coldplay concert. I'm going to play you the video from the report. Let's go listen to it right now.
Well, a kiss cam at a Coldplay concert in Boston allegedly caught a married tech CEO in a pretty awkward embrace with a colleague. Have a look.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You okay? Yeah, this story really broke all over the internet yesterday. So this man and woman couldn't get off camera quick enough. Coldplay frontman Chris Martin joked to the crowd that they're having an affair or are just very shy. Well, apparently he was correct about the affair. The man, Andy Byron, is the married head of a data company called Astronomer, and the woman is the firm's human resources chief. She was hired just 9 months ago, according to her LinkedIn profile, and he's been at the company since 2023.
So to talk more about this is a family lawyer, Robert McGlashan. Robert, good morning. Thanks for joining us, for weighing in. I mean, Jen and I have been talking all morning about how much interest there is in this. Maybe I'll start by first asking you what you think of what's going on, and maybe even why so many people are so curious about what happened there.
People are fascinated by relationships. People are fascinated by why relationships break down, and I also think people are fascinated by affairs and infidelity.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify for our viewers that there was something circulating on X and on the internet about a statement from Byron, the CEO of the company, but apparently that is not real, so we're just trying to sort that out. But aside from that, when you look at the situation, okay, they're both married to different people. Going forward, what happens now? Does the wife now have evidence from this Jumbotron video, tons of internet memes and video circulating that proves her husband is in an intimate relationship with another woman? What can she do?
So, at the breakdown of a relationship, you have a choice of proceeding with a divorce on a no-fault basis or alleging adultery. There's no financial benefit to alleging adultery. If you do allege adultery, you have to prove on a balance of probabilities that there actually was an affair, and proving it doesn't get you more spousal support. It doesn't get you to pay less spousal support. It doesn't get you a higher payment for equalization of net family property. So there's no economic benefit in going down the road of proving or trying to prove adultery.
That's so interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, I'd imagine or would have thought that would be something that worked to the advantage of the person who's clearly upset with what maybe unfolded and they didn't realize it. Is there something to be said, though, about maybe the emotional trauma that someone could go through? And in this case, for example, again, we don't know the details. We don't know the full backstory here. But if someone were to say, hey, that's my partner, now the whole world knows what was going on, is there any sort of argument there?
There's definitely any time there's alleged infidelity, it's going to be more emotionally charged. It's definitely more emotionally charged, and it does create, if there is an infidelity and someone takes a position that there wasn't, you don't want to do that because you can lose credibility with the court. So if you were having an affair, lying about it, you'll lose credibility with the court. The court won't necessarily find fault and give more spousal support or a bigger equalization. But if they do have a person who's lying, who's saying things that aren't true, you will lose credibility, and that may affect the divorce proceeding if the court finds you to be a person who doesn't have credibility.
Okay, and Robert, another interesting facet to this case is that this person, Andy Byron, he's the CEO, and the woman that he was embracing in the video is his HR chief of staff, who joined the company 9 months ago. I know you're a marriage kind of lawyer, but from an employment law standpoint, is there any grounds for dismissal based on the fact that this is a person seen in a position of power, having a relationship with a subordinate? What happens in that space?
So it depends a lot on the facts. It depends if the company has a policy about coworkers or people with power imbalances dating. It depends if perhaps they've already told their employers, and that, and the employers knows about it and is okay with it. The power imbalance is definitely going to be an issue on the employment side, because, new employee who is in a vulnerable position in a relationship with someone who's got power over their rise in the company, there's definitely tons of issues there.
Robert, what do you think we're going to see happen next here? I mean, given the profile, especially of the CEO, the interest from literally everybody at this point. I mean, you can't even open up your phone without seeing that video and people kind of commenting. What do you think we're going to see next with this? Do you think we'll hear from either side?
Oh, anything could happen. Anything could happen if all of the parties should get legal advice. My advice would be for the two individuals in the video or their partners, try to keep out of the media, try not to say things that are going to make unwinding or even reconciling the relationship more difficult. Because this is everywhere right now, and you probably don't want to go into a divorce proceeding with even more of it out there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cue up the Coldplay track from their album Parachutes, Trouble, because that's what this is. Family lawyer Robert McGlashan, thanks so much for joining us with your thoughts this morning. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Robert.
Yeah, there you have it, man. Why would you go to an open concert with your sweetheart where everyone could see you? I mean, let's just forget about the kiss cam. What if you ran into somebody you actually work with? And actually, the picture of the lady who's on the left side, I'm going to show you right now who they record with. Let's go right back to the video. I'll get to the point. I'll get her name before I get it up there. She works with them as well, too. Third lady. Let me get her name. Let's see. Alyssa Stoddard. She also works at Astronomer. Let me go and get a clip. I'm trying to make sure I get the right part in the video where you could actually see the lady. 1 second, everybody. I have to do this by myself because I have no producer. Oh, there you go.
Anything could happen if all of them.
You saw the lady looking and smiling. Her name was Alyssa Stoddard. She also works with them as well. So they all went together. And I guess that, Alyssa Stoddard was the excuse that, oh no, she was there with my other work colleague and I just went along, blah, blah, blah. Why didn't you take your wife? Oh my goodness. Andy, you're a bigger fool than I thought. And now you're ducking behind in a public place. Everybody already saw you, man. Come on. Don't be a goof. Oh my goodness. You didn't have to go to that Coldplay concert with him. But just show you how much you've been disrespecting your wife. This just goes to show you how you've been disrespecting your wife, man. You're a crazy man. And you're out there in the open. I mean, my God, man. Like I said, what if somebody from your work or someone from her family, your wife's family, actually seen you out there? What would you have done? It's more than just a kiss cam, man. You're just a retarded guy, a stupid guy, Mr. Byron. That's just who you are. Anyway, let's go to our last story. Apparently, when the United States struck Iran about 3 weeks ago, and they supposedly hit the nuclear targets, 3 nuclear sites, a new study came out saying that only one of Iran's nuclear sites have actually been destroyed, and the other 2 are still up and functioning, and actually they're able to go online within another 2 or 3 months. Let's look at this small report from the MSNBC.
We have new reporting on American airstrikes on Iran's nuclear sites, finding only 1 of the 3 was destroyed. This is according to 5 current and former U.S. officials familiar with this assessment. NBC News has also learned that President Trump rejected a more comprehensive strike on Iran that would have lasted weeks. Back with us is NBC's Julie Sirkin, one of the reporters behind this exclusive reporting. He's covering a lot of editorial ground for us this morning. Julie, you are all over it. Tell us more about what you've learned as it pertains to the outcome of these airstrikes.
Well, remember, Anna, there were 3 enrichment sites that were hit. It was Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. And Fordo is the one that, according to our sources, officials are really focusing on when they do their battle damage assessment, because it was sort of the biggest question mark with the bombs that they use, those bunker-busting bombs that can really go underground and are able to destroy a lot of this stuff. They weren't sure how well that would work there, and so that is why sources say they are focusing their assessments on that facility, and they say that it was destroyed. The other two are question marks, particularly Isfahan, because it was so hard to get to that enriched uranium. It also might have moved, and there are open questions about that. But really what our reporting is saying, in the limited information that certain officials up here are getting on Capitol Hill, in the assessments that are still ongoing, by the way, as they continue to clean there, and of course the U.S. intelligence officials using overhead images because they are not able to get physical access to that site. But as they are going through this, it's not like all three were obliterated, as the administration continues to say, and a spokesperson, by the way, continues to tell us on the record in response to our story. Sources say that is not the case. And on top of that, President Trump also rejected a broader plan, a multi-week operation that his officials were telling him could lead to more destruction, more successful destruction of these uranium sites to prevent, of course, the goal from Iran for obtaining and making a nuclear weapon. Trump rejected that plan, and I'll just tell you on it politically, it makes sense why. His supporters in the MAGA space were already torn when these initial strikes happened, because this is a president who campaigned on ending foreign wars, who campaigned on not putting new military on the ground, not putting American troops even in the skies over some of these areas. And certainly a move like this to conduct these strikes in Iran, to use this kind of force, was different than what the Trump administration was promising on the campaign trail, but certainly something that the administration stands behind.
Now, you heard that right. Now, listening to that, you would think that, oh no, the United States just missed its targets, etc., etc. And you would think that that report is actually genuine. No, someone inside the Pentagon leaked that to that reporter and told her what to say. And essentially, that's a threat to Iran. Because what the United States is telling you, that we didn't finish you off the first time. We could have, but I said no. But I'm leaving the door open to come back and hit you again. And so this is going to go on, because I think the Trump administration was trying its hand with the American people, because he knows his MAGA supporters don't want war. All right? And so he's now leaking it that he said no to the largest strikes earlier, but he's also telling Iran that, hey, we can come back if you continue to develop your nuclear capabilities. And it's just an open threat. And this reporter right now, I'm not sure, she may be in the internet, but she just leaked a threat from the Pentagon to Iran without Trump having to actually leak the threat himself. Isn't that something? And American propaganda, television, they're so slick with it. They've gotten so used to giving us the information they think that we need to manipulate us into thinking or to doing something else. But that's what that is, man. That was a leak story. You know, she thinks she's doing good reporting, but no, someone intentionally gave her information to go in front and say this about someone. She's being manipulated herself. Unless she's being paid, she's a part of it. That's not casting the aspersions, but that's what it is. Essentially, the Trump administration, through the Pentagon, is telling Iran, we did not get all of your sites, and we have the option to come back and hit you again. And that's essentially what that is. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go back and they hit Iran again. That's probably what's going to happen within the next 6 to 8 months. If they go back and start rebuilding more of that nuclear program. That's what's going to happen. You're going to see Israel jump on it first. Then you're going to see the United States come in and back Israel. Sorry. But let's go back to the top of our stories, man. We talked about the Trump administration, putting in a 10% tariff on Caribbean and African countries. This is essentially negligible. It's insignificant to tip the scale either which way. You know, some exporters in the Caribbean and Africa, they're going to feel the pinch for a while, but they're going to find other markets for Europe. Or if Americans want the product that badly, they're going to buy them for the extra 10%. It's essentially nothing. Trump just letting us, he still respects us to give us a tariff too, so we don't feel left out. The second story we had was the human rights issues in Haiti, and how Haiti, the violence is spreading out from a wider scope of Port-au-Prince. It was just essentially concentrated in central Port-au-Prince, but now it's coming to the outskirts of Port-au-Prince, and the country is essentially in shambles. There's no even sign that they're going to have an election. The country is just finished, man. We also talk about Brendan Carr, the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, who said that the Trump administration just allowed for more spectrum. They restored the FCC Spectrum Auction Authority, and will be moving forward with more spectrum options for the entire Western Hemisphere, and that of the United States, of course, and the Caribbean, because we depend on their spectrum provision, and so that's happening for us as well. So that's good. We're going to have more telecommunications capabilities for the region. And we also had a recent United Nations report, a UN report, another one, saying that black women suffer the most from HIV in the Caribbean and, some parts of the Afro-South Americas, particularly Colombia. Say black women in particular, they have less access to treatment and education about HIV. And that's something important. We keep putting our black women on the lower rung, and that's just insanely sad. And we also saw the Coldplay Kiss Cam controversy with CEO of tech company Astronomer Andy Byron with his colleague, or his boo, Miss Kristen Cabot, who was the human resource head for Astronomer, who was hired just 9 months ago. Byron has been at the company for 3 months, and they were also there with another co-worker of theirs, Miss Alyssa Stoddard, who knew about their affair. And she was recently promoted as well. So that's what we have now. So he was caught cold on the Coldplay Kiss Cam while they were in a concert in Massachusetts. And so, the wife cut him off now. She's pissed. Miss Cabot is divorced, by the way, if I didn't say so. And so that's where it is with them. And we also had, the United States putting out propaganda through MSNBC and their reporter stating that, they have not hit all of Iran's nuclear sites. There are 2 more sites. And so that reporter thinks she was getting a scoop, making it seem as if the Trump administration was incompetent for hitting all of Iran's nuclear sites. However, she was used as a tool to get the propaganda out there to let Iran know we did not hit all of them. We can come back and finish it off if we want to, either through us or through Israel. So that's what we have there. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining me for another Line Vibe Live podcast. If you have not done so, please like, share, and subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch page. That's Line Vibe 77. That's Line Vibe and the number 77 at YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. We'd like to have you join our nation. Like I said early on in the show, we're going to be increasing some capacity here. We're going to start doing more in-depth interviews with people and notables from around the Caribbean and around the world, actually. And so we're going to take it up a notch in the next 2-3 weeks. So I thank you for joining me for another Line Vibe podcast. And this is your host, Yuri Araman Kemp, here from the beautiful islands of the Bahamas. And I'll see you again next week, God willing, on a Line Vibe Live podcast. Let's take it away.